Okay, boys and girls, so we're working on strategy number 2. Strategy number 2 is where I multiply my denominators. So, like with all the other strategies, I'm going to look at my denominators first. I know I need to multiply the denominators to get my new denominator for the equivalent fractions I'm creating. So, I am going to do this in blue. So, I take them and I multiply them. So, 3 times 5 gives me 15. This is going to be my new denominator that I need to change both of these into to get there. So what I do is I take 2/3 and I ask myself, what do I multiply it by to get to 15? Well, I can see up there it's going to be by 5. And if I do it to my denominator, I always do it to my numerator too. 2 times 5 is 10. This is my new equivalent fraction that's going to take the place of 2/3. This way, I'm creating these equivalent fractions so my denominators are the same, so it's easier for me to compare. Now I need to change 3/5. And I ask myself, what would I multiply by 5 to get to 15? Well, I know it's by 3. If I do it to my denominator, I also do it to my numerator. 3 times 3 would give me 9. This is my new equivalent fraction for 3/5. I can now compare the equivalent fractions that I've created. I keep them in the same spots. 10/15 is the equivalent fraction to 2/3, so I keep it on that side. 9/15 is the equivalent fraction for 3/5, so I keep it on this side. They both have the same denominators now, so I just look at my numerators. 10 is greater than 9, so in the end, I would say 2/3 is greater than 3/5. Let's try another one. So I always do my first step of looking at my denominators. I've located them. I'm going to multiply them now. So I ask myself 6 times 7 would give me 42. This is going to be my new denominator that both fractions are going to have now, but I need to create that first. So I take 4/6 and I'm going to ask myself, what would I multiply by that to get to 42? I can use my facts up here and know that it's 7. But if I do it to my denominator, I have to do it to my numerator too. So 4 times 7 would give me 28. This is my new equivalent fraction for 4/6. Now I need to change 2/7. And I ask myself, what would I multiply 7 by to get to 42? I can see up there, it was by 6. If I do it to my denominator, I have to do it to my numerator. 2 times 6 is 12. So 12/42 is my equivalent fraction for 2/7. Now that both my equivalent fractions have the same denominator, I can compare them. So I take, oops, wrong color. So I take 28/42, and I'm really careful to keep them in the same spot they were in up above. 12/42, and I can see 28 is bigger than 12. So in the end, 4/6 was bigger than 2/7. Okay, do this one with me. Make sure to get a piece of paper. Let's solve this one together. Okay, so write down this problem. If you need to pause the video, you can. Our first step is to look at our denominators. Okay, we are going to multiply them together, meaning I'm going to do 10 times 9. So 10 times 9 gives me 90. These are my new denominators that are going to, this is my new denominator that's going to be the denominator for both 2/10 and 5/9 once I get their equivalent fractions. So I'm going to create those now. I use 2/10, and I'm going to ask myself, what would I multiply to get to 90? Well, I can see I need to multiply it by 9, and if I do it to my new denominator, I have to do it to my numerator. So 2 times 9 gives me 18. Now my next one, I have 5/9. I need to multiply it by something to get to 90. And I know that would be by 10. And if I do it to my numerator, or my denominator, I also have to do it to my numerator. I want to stress that. If you multiply anything by the denominator, you also have to do it to the numerator. So 5 times 10 is 50. So I move those down. Now that both my equivalent fractions have the same denominator, I can compare them. Oops, wrong color. So I have 18/90ths, and I'm comparing it with 50/90ths. I can see that 50 is far greater than 18. So in the end, 5/9 was greater than 2/10. Let's try one more. Okay, this one I want you to do completely on your own. So make sure you do have that piece of paper. Try it on your own. Pause the video. When you're ready to see your answer, turn the video back on and we will solve it and you can check your work. So my first step is to always look at my denominators. And as I'm looking at them, I'm going to now multiply them together. 8 times 4, it gives me 32. So 32 is going to be my new denominator for both of them when I create the equivalent fractions. So I take 6/8 and I ask myself, what would I multiply to get to 32? And I know it's by 4 because I have the facts up there. So I multiply 6 times 4, and that gives me 24. This is my new equivalent fraction that has the denominator of 32, so I can compare more easily. Then I take 2/4 and I multiply it by something to get to 32, and I know that fact would have been 8. If I do it to my denominator, I have to do it to my numerator. So that would give me 16. This is my new fraction that is equivalent to 2/4. They both have the same denominators that you can see, so now I can more easily compare. So I take 24/32 and I compare it with 16/32, making sure that I keep them on the right side as they were up there. I see 24 is bigger than 16, so in the end, 6/8 was greater than 2/4. If you're still having troubles with this, message me. I'm willing to help you. You guys can do it. I know you can. See you guys.